Hi, I'm Kathy at Stitch It Together. Today I'm going to be working on this beautiful quilt. Let me show you from Station Stitchers. And I have completed basting this entire quilt. And let me tell you what I can know now that I've basted it in advance. It is very straight. I've been able to measure the blocks so they are consistently the same size. And when I was doing the basting, I could see that the rows and the columns are straight in this quilt, so it is very, very straight, and that gives me a lot of options as to how to complete this quilt. And so what I've decided that I am going to custom quilt this one, and because it is so straight, I can use QuiltCAD, and that will make it faster. It'll be a way to custom quilt this, but without having to place every single block. And so that's what I'm going to do since it's straight. I hope you'll follow along as to what I'm going to do. Next, I'll be designing in QuiltCAD for this particular quilt. Hi, I'm Kathy from Stitch It Together. I'm going to be showing a short demonstration of how I am going to be using QuiltCAD today. This is not meant to be an all-inclusive tutorial on QuiltCAD, just how I used it today, and also a little bit on Pattern CAD because I had to alter one of the patterns to get it to do what I wanted in QuiltCAD. So a little bit about the patterns first. I'm going to be going into Pattern CAD to show you two of the patterns I'm going to use. Let me describe the quilt that I'm going to be quilting. The quilt is a checkerboard. So there are I want to have two blocks in this quilt. And the reason I decided to do it this way is that one of the blocks is a solid. So whatever I put in that block is going to show up really, really well. And that's a real opportunity to pick something, really exciting, really detailed that will show in that side of in that block. The other block is very heavily printed. So whatever I put in that block, it is not going to show. So using an edge to edge, which I could do, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, it would show up very well in the solid block, but it wouldn't show very well in the printed block. I decided I would really like to custom quilt so that that solid block would have kind of stand out. So I felt like I could do this best in QuiltCAD, although there are other ways to do this as well. So let me talk to you first about the patterns that I used. These are the two patterns. This one is a gold pattern. It's from 2022. And I want you to notice that I used the border block right here. I'm going to explain to you why I did that. So what I'm hoping to do is kind of cheat. In QuiltCAD, you can place multiple blocks. So you can place each block one at a time, just like you would in Select and Sew, or you can place more than one at a time and you want them to stitch out all however many you choose at once. I am going to do one row at a time. So I need a block that kind of behaves like a border and not like a block. With a block, if I was going to place a block, it wouldn't just by itself, it wouldn't really matter where the start and the stop point is. But when you want blocks to join together and stitch out without a jump stitch, you need to have a start on the left-hand side and a stop on the right-hand side. Then when you're going to join multiple, like if I'm going to do this one and that one, I would be good. I'm sorry, this one. Multiple times, my start and my stop are on the same plane. They're right here, and they would join together very easily. But because I'm going to join this with another block, so that this is in one block and the alternating is another block, I need to have a start and a stop that is in the same plane. So having a start and stop with the other block that was in the middle or in the other corner would not work. I need to have the start and the stops at the same height so that they will join together. So since this block had a start and a stop that was in the bottom corners, let me show you the other block that I'm going to use. It's this one right here. This is not a gold. Comes right out of the blocks right here. So this is a very simple pattern, and it is a block pattern, so it has a start and a stop that happens to be right here in the middle. And so that's not going to work. I'm going to need to add it. I need to add two lines. I need to add a line right here so that I can get one point there, a start there, and a stop right here. And this is, again, not meant to be a pattern CAD class, but I can show you that it is actually pretty easy to do this. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the draw tools right here. And because I want to use these lines right here, I'm going to turn off the nodes right here. so that I can choose which kind of line and I want it to be an arc. When you're drawing with continuous line selected, what that means is that your next line is going to come from wherever the stop point is. So no matter where I click, it's going to have come from the stop point. So it came from the stop point right there, and I clicked over there. So that's where the next line went. Let me just undo that. Where I really want it to go is I want it to go here. And because I have arc selected, when I go to edit that line, so first let me bring this right here. I'm going to tap the button right there. And now I'm going to tap my space bar. And when that happens, this handle appears. So now I can drag my line so that it's right on top of this one. I can also further make sure that this line lines up really well by snapping these 2 points together. I'm going to snap it so they're as close as they can be to on the same line. But now I want to go to optimize and I'll show you something. So even though there isn't technically a jump stitch because it is connected, it wants to have a break right here. And that's okay. I can remove it. All I need to do is say remove all. If there had been a blue line, that was going to create a jump stitch. And then if I said remove all, it would have sewn that line. I would not do that. But because I know that this was really, it started where it was supposed to and it ended right here, I just said to remove all. Now what I need to do is I need another line. I don't want a point or a start right here. I want a start right here. But the problem is because my stop point is right here, the next long line I'm going to draw is it would come from here, and I don't want to do that. So what I can do is just say reverse. So I'm going to reverse. Watch what happens right here. This is the start point. This is the stop point. So I'm going to say reverse. So now it reversed them. So now I have a start point right here and a stop point right here. So I'm going to say, okay, that means now when I go to draw, it's going to start from the middle again. And I'm going to say draw. I want it to be an arc. I'm going to do just like I did before. I want it to be right to this corner right there. I'm going to touch my space bar. My handle just appears. I'm going to drag this line right over here so it's right on top of this one, just like that. I'm going to say unselect to make sure everything gets unselected. And I'll select just these 2 points right there. And I'm going to snap them together. And it looks like when I do that, I could tighten this area up just a little bit. That handle just shows up there. Just going to tighten that up a little bit. Oops, we had a weird thing happen there. So let's undo. Undo. There we go. All right, so when I did that, QCT wanted to add a different line. So let me see if I can, sometimes if I say flatten pattern, it won't do that when I try it again. So let me just draw this line again. Say draw. This is just a weird thing that sometimes happens with pattern CAD. So I'm going to say draw. Oops. Undo. Go back to optimize. Say remove all. I'm going to again reverse these. Auto reverse. Oops. Reverse all. There we go. So now my stop is right here. Now draw this line again. Draw an arc. Bring it right down here. Tap this. There we go. All right. All right, I think that's good enough. I'm just going to leave it. But now my stop point is right here. And when you're working with Pattern CAD, you can only go really in one direction. So I need to reverse these again. I want the start to be here and the stop to be here. And that's very easy to change. I go to optimize. I'm just going to say, once again, I want it to be continuous. So I'm going to say remove all. So now we've got one line and I'm just going to reverse these. So I'm going to reverse all. So there we go. Now my start is on the left and my stop is on the right. And I'm going to save that. There we go. Just overwrite. Yes. Now I'm going to go into QuiltCAD. That's where all this magic is going to happen. I'm going to use these up now. When you use QuiltCAD, you have to remember that you are the boss. This is not intuitive software. So you are going to be telling QCT, QuiltCAD, which block you're using and which pattern you're using. And how you do that is by selecting which blocks you're using and selecting which pattern you're using. But one of the things that is easy to forget is if you want QCT to work the right way, you have to unselect the blocks when you're done with them. And that can be hard to remember, but generally, if something is not going where you think it's going to go, it's probably because you haven't unselected something. So what I'm going to do first is I need to now make this grid, the grid of my squares, to be what the size and the number that I want for my quilt. I'm going to be doing mine the long way, so it's going to have more across than down. And I know that I need to have 9. And now down, I want to have 7. Now it will figure all of this out for me. What I'm really looking for is my block sizing, and my blocks are 5 inches. I'm going to say okay and change this one to 5 as well. Okay, so now I have my grid. This is what my quilt will look like. I'm going to say okay. So now I want to select which pattern am I going to go with first. And I'm going to do what's going to be in this block first, which is because it's a printed block, is going to be this one. So I'm going to open this up. So now in order to place this block, I have to start selecting the blocks that I want this particular pattern to go into. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can do that. You can click on whichever ones you want. Just like this, I'm selecting those blocks. But there is an easier way when you want to do a checkerboard. I can go to right here where the tab says select, and I can just say checkerboard. And you'll notice that it has selected every other block for me. So now I'm going to place my block. And when I do, it's going to take a little bit of time. There we go. So it's placed this block for me. But you'll notice that it has not filled up my complete space. And I don't want it to be like this. I want it to fill in completely. So I need to go to our sizing right here. And now I could use the arrows to do this in one direction and then the other. But if I lock the ratio lock right here, I can do it all in one step. So when I lock this, when I say max, it's going to force that block to go as big as it can in all directions. And so this is really what I want. So now this is placed. These blocks are all placed just as I want them to be. So I would need to unselect all of these blocks, or I can use this handy dandy feature right here called select the opposite. So watch what this is going to do. Here we go. It unselected all of the previous blocks and selected all the ones that weren't. So now I need to check for the new pattern. So this is the pattern that I want right here. That's what I want. Okay, so here it is. Now, with these all correctly selected, I can place this pattern. Once again, you're going to see it has not filled up the whole space, and I do want it to fill up the space, so I'm just going to size it by saying max. And again, the ratio lock is on, so it should do it all at once. So there we go. I am very happy with this. This is what I wanted to do, and this is why I like using QuiltCAD, because this you can do this very quickly in QuiltCAD. So what I want to do next is you absolutely positively want to save it. So I'm going to call this charity quilt right here. I'm going to say save. And it says it already exists. I'm going to save over the top of it. So yes. So this is the charity quilt that I'm working on. Now I have some choices to make. You can quilt this just like a pantograph, but you have to tell QCT which blocks you want to quilt. So if I said, go to select, and if I said unselect all first, and then select all, so everything is selected. And if I said sew in zones, I want you to see what happens. Say sew in zones. It's going to take a little time because this is a lot of information. And you just have to wait or it will do bad things. It will shrink up and you might have to restart. So here we go. So I want you to notice that I have these jump stitches. So normally if you have these jump stitches, you would go, oh, well, something's not right in the Zone Manager. Let me go to Zone Manager. So I'm going to open this up. What you're going to see is that you don't have some of these options left to you when you are in QuiltCAD. It does not want to go in the continuous, like this is grayed out. So there's really, I cannot change this so that it will stitch a straight line down here, which in my case, because I actually do have a border, is fine because I don't know that I would want it to stitch this line anyway. But with these settings, I can't do this anyway. It will not allow me to change the sewing direction. So there is nothing I can really do to change that jump stitch. But I just want you to be aware that it knows how many blocks that you can sew in your zone. And you could indeed, so if I say, okay, I could set this as just like I would with a pantograph. And let's just do it like right there. Oh no, I'm just going to have to wait it out now. But you can set this just like you would with a pantograph. You could do just the left and right A and B corners, or what you would probably want to do in a situation like this when you have a checkerboard to make sure that you're really getting into your rows, you would want to do A, B, C, and D. When you're doing A, B, C, and D with 3 rows, you're kind of taking a bit of a chance because there's no way to make sure that these are all in the actual rows as they're on your quilt top. They're straight here, which is great, but your quilt top might not actually be straight. So you might have some overlap if your quilt isn't perfect, and most quilts aren't. So when this times out goes back to a full screen, I'll show you what I'm going to do instead. Hmm, that's making me nervous. It usually doesn't go like that. We'll just wait again. I'm going to pause the record. Oh, there we go. We're good. All right. So I don't know what that said. Let's see if I can get that to go. Okay. Would you like to say the zone sewing session? I'm going to say no because I am in simulation mode. So I'll say no. So it looks like nothing is saving right now. Anyway, I could place this A and B and C and D if I wanted to. And again, I would probably want to do the C and the D corners. And if you were going to place the C and D corners, you would need to remember to unlock your height so that you could get the correct height up and down. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to control that. But for me, because I want to stitch out a whole row at a time and have some kind of control, I about whether this is really going to fit into my row, I'm not going to do it this way. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close out of here, and it goes back to the QuiltCAD window, and I'm going to unselect everything, unselect all. So now here's a quick way to select a column or a row. If you go over here, and you might not be able to see it, but there really is like a little pane right here. And if I push on this button right there, you can see, then you can see the line for it. It selects the entire row. So that's what I want to do. What I have decided to do is I'm going to stitch out 1 row at a time. And then, so I'm going to, so place as a single pattern. I'm going to select that. So now on my quilt, I will know where the 4 corners are for this row, and that's what I'm going to do. So I would place this first corner right here, and you notice you're in like select and sew. So you could have a margin, you could do some things here if you wanted to, just like if you had a block, but I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is, so when you're in simulation mode, it's hard to place these other points right here. So I'm not going to, it will let me pretend like I place them while I'm in simulation mode. But I'm going to now just say quilt so you can see what I'm going to do instead to make sure that they stay inside of my row. So here is my row right here, but what I am going to use is fabric compensation. So when I load for fabric compensation, I will then go along along my quilt, and depending on how uneven it is, and this particular quilt is actually pretty straight, so I'll probably go to these blocks the most, put several points in these blocks because that's where it's going to show the most, and make sure that I am in the seam line for each one of these. That way I can be certain that these patterns are actually in the row. Now, I have no control of whether about this distance right here. So if my quilt is very faithful to being 5-inch blocks, then I shouldn't have a problem or very big problem with these staying within the blocks. But by the time it reaches the end, because I am using pattern compensation, it should stay within the row itself. So it should, even if it was off, it shouldn't be by very much. I intentionally picked a pattern that doesn't go all the way up to the seam line, and this has a lot of space in it. So there's a lot of growing room for this one. And so that is what I'm going to do. And the reason I'm going to do that is because that's the time that I have for this quilt. I don't have the time. I can't give the time to place every single block. I don't want to do that, but I will make the time to use that fabric compensation and to do one row at a time. Now, if I really was pressed for time, I could try and do more than one row at a time, but because it won't let me change the direction, or continuous stitch in zone manager, I would still have a jump stitch there anyway. So I feel like it will pay off to do it just in rows. So once I've used the fabric compensation, I would say, okay, I would pull my bobbin and I would stitch it out. And because my start and my stops are all right where they're supposed to be, this is stitching with no problem. If there had been any jump stitches, I would go into optimize, and probably all I would need to do was say in optimize, remove all, because they should be in the correct location. So when it's done, I would say finished, comes back to this window, and then to get back to QuiltCAD to pick the next row, I'm going to use this X right here. And so now here I am in this back in QuiltCAD, and this is the row that I just stitched. So now you have some choices. What I like to do is I like to delete as I go. So it says delete the selected blocks. So I'm going to delete just those blocks. Then I'm going to pick this row right here, and I would say, whoops, not so in zones. Darn it, I'll have to go back. Well, if I had said so and so, if that's what I was going to do, I would just place A and B if that's what I wanted to do. And then it would show me at the end, I would have to do the marker for the next zone. But that's not what I want to do. So I'll just go back and I'll just say place as a single pattern and just repeat what I've just done. Again, I would just place the pattern. I would go to the top right-hand corner and place this just like what block. And then I would use, oops, I gotta go to the next screen. Again, I would use the fabric compensation to go along the seam line for all four corners, all for the entire row. Again, it will sew out. And when we're done, it goes back to here, it goes back to this one, and you click your X. Again, I would want to delete that. Now, let's say I want to end for the day or I need to stop for some reason. I want to save where I am, but I don't want to save over the top of this one. I want to keep this one just in case for some reason. And actually, in my case, because I am simulating now, I'm going to take this. It's already designed. I'll put it on a USB and I will just open it up because I've already designed it. I can take my whole quilt and then go to the actual sewing machine. So I would call this something else and I would save it as something else. And start up the next day, just like if you're starting with blocks. So that's how I'm going to be doing this particular quilt. So I hope that this helps somebody. If you have any questions, Kathy at Stitch It Together LLC, you can find me on Facebook. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.